Things last left off with a rebuild of my 13.6 kilogram combat robot, preparing for the Robot Rampage Grand Opening Tournament. This New Zealand event will be my first international combat robot event, with a quick turnaround to get there. Derive S is a fast grabber-lifter robot designed to disrupt an opponent's weapon and slam them around the arena. With a pair of Maytech 5065 drive motors on 52-volt supply, it has the most drive power of any robot at the event. Paired with firmware changes to the motor controllers, it was finally up to running at full speed. Robot-specific preparation was covered in the previous video. This one will focus just on the event. The venue was a building specifically done up for these sorts of events. It featured a very large and well-built arena to support both open featherweight and heavyweight sportsman fights. To accommodate this, the floor was smooth steel plating, which is not seen in Australia where I usually fight, that being MDF flooring. A large arena is a fun thing to try out with a robot like mine, as it allows for some long full-speed slams into the walls. Included in the space is a well-equipped workshop, which pretty much any tool or machine one could use in the space of an event. The linisher got plenty of use sharpening forks and wedges. When I arrived on Friday, some competitors were still building their machines in this space. Outside are the pit tents for competitors. Each team got one of the folding tables with a power strip. I initially thought the outdoor tenting would be a problem if things rained, but it held up just fine. Back inside and facing the arena, there is tiered seating for spectators for viewing the 4 sessions of fights between Saturday and Sunday. For competitors, this means 3 round-robin fights with a semi-finals and finals, both occurring in the last session. Practically, one had to win all 3 round-robin fights to secure a spot in the finals. As there are many new builders, a seeding system was implemented to approximate a fair bracket. Each machine is assigned a seed at organizer discretion based on their perceived competitiveness. Then things would go approximately like this. A high seed would first fight another high seed, then a middle-ranked machine, and then finally a low seed. The inverse is true for low-ranked robots. This meant a new, and thus low-ranked machine had a better chance of making it 3 fights without being irreparably destroyed by a powerful and experienced robot, though they'd be guaranteed to meet it later on. Before detailing my experience with the event, it is pressing to mention that this event was filmed by the event organisers and is being turned into a 2-episode production, being released sometime in the near future. Do keep an eye on the Robot Rampage social medias for information on when that becomes available to view. I'm showing here some of the photos they took of competitors. It will be quite something to see the whole event playing out with this level of quality. Lots of big fancy cameras. Their information and channels will be linked in the description. On the Friday before the fight started, I handed the transmitter to some other builders to let them try the robot out, and bash the machine around to identify any problems before they become a bigger deal. In testing, the machine could suddenly not lift even a small weight, the issue being the pinion gear slipping on the motor that powers the arm. This gear was a force fit on the shaft that I pressed on way back for version 1 over a year ago and hasn't been touched since. Coupled with the D-shaped shaft, it seems the gear has stretched over time to no longer grip the shaft well enough. It had just enough grip to move the arm, but not enough to throw weight around. Before leaving for the night, I applied some retaining compound to the interface to try and keep it in place. Different builders have different opinions about testing their robots in the arena at the event, as it sometimes generates problems that wouldn't necessarily cause one to lose a fight. It can also bring out problems that wouldn't have happened at all, due to the extra action time on the machines. I can't personally think of the time. I would have rather found out a problem during instead of before a fight, but there is an argument to be had there. Derive's first matchup was against Inferno Fox, a large 2-wheel drive vertical spinner. I was concerned about the spinner damaging the lifter jaw, so removed that to run as a pure lifter. Once the weapon is spinning, Inferno Fox can self-right by hitting itself against the ground if it's tipped. But I saw their weapon motor overheated during testing. Therefore, the plan was to simply keep turning them over, stressing the motor until it gave out. Still quite concerned, I added a piece of plastic armor to the rear of the robot for the first time, as well as sharpening the large forks on the linisher to ensure I got under their wedge. Fight footage shown will be a mix of my handheld phone recordings and the GoPros mounted to the arena, therefore what may be internal box audio playing over external footage. but that's just what we have to work with. Pulling out a win, but not unscathed. Luckily, the first slam shattered one of my opponent's drive gearboxes, which allowed me to gently control things for the rest of the match. The failed part was the planet carrier. I'm not sure what could have possibly caused that to happen, but that's how things go. I was driving pretty poorly on this new floor and out of practice, leading to lots of oversteer, and driving the forks down into their weapon. I tried straightening it out with the machine shop available, which mostly consisted of long levers in a vise. The forks are made of Hardock 600, and it's really something else, taking my entire weight on the end of this lever and just springing back rather than deforming. It also gives credence to just how violent these robots can be, to bend it out of shape in an instant. In the end, I was not able to take the large twist out of the forks, meaning they wouldn't sit flat on the ground. As this was going on, I was divulging my woes to two spectators who very conveniently had an auto repair shop up the road. Their shop featured a hydraulic press, and they offered to give me a lift over to try it out. It mostly did the trick, with the fork now usable again. The shop's name was Sims Electrical Services in Auckland. Unfortunately, I don't remember both of their names, believe it was Jason and his son, but they really saved my bacon for this event. It was nice to chat with you both this day. In an unrelated failure, the flexible armor was causing problems again. The side armor of Derive is 20mm thick, high-density polyethylene. Too stiff to bend by hand, but it flexes a lot in combat. As the drivetrain is now running at full speed, it was bending in and smashing up the wheel washers when Derive hit a wall. To try and stem this, I added the anti-hammer armor on top to stiffen up the flex, which did help a lot. The next fight was against Deltoid, a 4-wheel drive pneumatic flipper. Aside from the pneumatics, it also demonstrated a novel drive system using milled and 3D printed gears. If I presume I was given a high seed, that means this fight should be a middle-ranked robot. Deltoid wasn't launching robots very high, but definitely capable of tipping them over. While loading in my robot for the match, I could tell the pinion gear on the lifter was slipping again. This meant if my robot was tipped over, it wouldn't be able to self-right and thus lose the match. Therefore, my only option was to outdrive Deltoid and not get flipped even once. Things played out about as well as I could have hoped considering the lost lifter. Whatever clicked between the first fight and this, I was now driving it way more effectively with plenty of good slams and these impacts actually buckling the internal frame of deltoid. Nonetheless, that lift pinion had to be sorted once and for all. I found my one spare pinion, cleaned the motor shaft with acetone, applied some retaining compound and pressed the new gear into place. If this didn't hold for the event, I didn't have any other ideas. It sat overnight in preparation for the final event day. The Sunday turned out to be quite wet and put the tents to the test. I spent the morning reassembling Derive in preparation for its third round-robin opponent. Things went back together smoothly and the gear appeared to be holding together far better. I took the time to carefully check everything, torquing all the fasteners and removing debris. While recording this, I managed to catch one of the tent roof joiners failing, leading to a waterfall between a pair of pit tables.
You guys need extra visits?
Despite the weather, I don't know of anyone actually having wet robots. The tables and electrics stayed quite dry. Personally, it didn't lead to any troubles at all. My third opponent was Parallelizer, a dual-wedged two-wheel drive spinner from a rookie team. I was going to fight them yesterday, but they had a lot of repairs to do from their first opponent, including a dead and hard-to-replace motor controller. Thankfully, they persevered and got the machine running for Sunday morning. This lot were another group that was good to chat with between fights, sharing tips and seeing how they went about their new machine.
Competition and has not lost yet. So Paralyzer is the underdog. Has a lot of work to do. Okay, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for Paralyzer. And make some noise for Derive S. Let's get ready to rumble. 3, 2, 1, fight! Paralyzer against the wall.
Paralyzer hasn't been able to get the spin up to speed yet as Derive is just controlling the area.
Oh! Paralyzer over, looks like it's
But also, yeah, there's
tango.
Derive is, this is a demolition.
Throwing Paralyzer against the wall.
Try and release. I'm trying.
They cannot be disconnected. They're stuck together.
We're going to use 5 seconds before we get through our stick, I think.
The ref is calling, we might have to unstick the robots.
Alright, pause time!
Being held in the air by Derive's weapon.
True.
So there is a little bit as we close the cage again and get ready to restart. Got 2 minutes 15 on the clock.
Now join me everybody. 3, 2, 1, fight! We'll see a repeat of the first 45 seconds. Oh, they're separated here. Oh, he's jumping in the air.
Just not letting it go.
RKO.
Chains on.
Absolutely, there's almost like a suplex function on this robot. Trying to flip over. As Riley is stuck in the corner here.
Okay.
Riley gets grabbed. Says, no, you are not stuck in this corner. We're going to get you into another corner and get you ready.
Paralyzer just getting bullied.
That is.
Stress. Paralyzer team's face. They only just got their left working after the first fight.
What changed disabled?
We're still good as new.
Today for Paralyzer. Oh, this is just cruel.
Right, it's taking the fight in front of the fans now instead of all the way back in the other corner. And we got the lift up again, which got them stuck the first time.
Ah, there we go. That's it.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Because it would like slam us in.
3 wins for Derive, this one being quite fun. Parallelizer lost one of their drive chains early on, but were good sports to allow things to continue to entertain both us and the crowd. Derive was on top form here as far as the drivetrain goes, feeling twitchy and powerful. For the first time, I was able to pick up an opponent and hold them mid-air for a slam, rather than simply suplexing them. Similarly, the lifter worked reliably without the slipping pinion, including the backdriving forces from slams. Despite being plastic, the jaw still had plenty of grip on the smooth panels of my opponent. Before the finals, I was asked if I could put Derive in against some RC cars for fun to entertain the crowd, which of course was fine and allowed for some more drive practice before the finals. It was now time for the playoffs. This photo shows the 4 finalists from left to right. Mjolnir, a large horizontal spinner, Black Rose, an invertible drum wedge robot, Bad Blood, an experienced and powerful 4-wheel drive vertical spinner, and finally Derive. The semi-final arrangement was drawn from a hat with Derive fighting against Mjolnir. Missing the wedges that served me well against the last horizontal spinner, my only option was to keep on them and prevent the bar from spinning up in time. From their previous fights, I know there was little chance to simply break their spinner. It had been roofed by another opponent only to turn around and smash up their frame. Something I was aware of though was trouble with Derive. They had a habit of stripping or breaking the undersized belts. Therefore, as usual, the plan was to smother them until something gave up.
Let's make some noise.
This fight was the first real test of the shock-absorbing side armor, in that it's the first time it's ever really been hit. Mostly a success, as the drive side that went down was not the one that got the big hit. Due to forgetting thread locker in haste, one of the bolts walked out that held the left front wheel, which in turn led to the belt falling off. The robot was not otherwise unscathed though. 2 side hits caused both spreader bars to fold over, the largest of which caused a bend in the right frame rail, and the armor stiffener plate simply exploded. Both semis and finals were in the same session, so repairs had to happen quickly. Drive was regained by simply putting the bolt and wheel back in place with some Loctite. Both spreader bars got smashed back straight with a hammer, but nothing could be done about the frame rail at this time. Problematically, the bend meant the front right wheel axle was skewed backwards, leading to the robot always wanting to turn right slightly and throwing off my drive practice. With little time to spare, I reduced the power on the left-hand drive to 90% in the transmitter to counteract this, which did a pretty good job in the interim. While all this was going on, my finals opponent was selected. Having ripped through most of the competition, Bad Blood beat Black Rose to meet me in the ultimate fight. The robot was fast, featured a large Scorpion motor powered disc, and had 4 sharpened wedgelets that were kept sprung to the floor with foam blocks. Importantly, it had fought many times before, so it was unlikely to suffer spontaneous failure like some others. If I'm not mistaken, it came to Australia in 2018 and came second, but not after some destructive matches. Its key weakness was the same as Inferno Fox's, being only able to self-right if the disc was spinning. Therefore the game was to throw them over as much as possible and hope they eventually land the wrong way up, in the same manner by which they lost the finals in 2018. Just before the fight, I chose to make one key alteration. Alongside the large forks I've been fighting with up till now, packed with what little weight allowance I had left, were 4 thin forks kept from the previous robot. But would they fare any better than the heavier, longer forks that had more downforce? Using the linisher, both were sharpened, and then I slid a thin fork into a large fork over and over to see which would win out, repeated for each combination of both. The thin forks won out every time.
And on the close side, we have Bad Blood, who's maybe been one of our most robust robots in the entire competition, and hasn't even taken any damage, it seems like. Bad Blood, I'm assuming named after Taylor Swift. We've got any Taylor fans in the crowd? About 2, okay, cool.
Alright, let's make some noise as we count down.
Make some noise for the flyers, ladies and gentlemen, make some noise! Here we go, count down the finals. 3, 2, 1, fight! Oh, the right way. Oh!
It's the first time we'll see one of these robots not be the one.
The right way is an early flip. Seems like the right way is as good as bullying Bad Blood. Oh, God! An early flip! Oh, my gosh! 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
In what seems to have become a habit, Derive wins the event at 5-0 to take the trophy home for Australia. If you would indulge me, I'll overanalyse this finals match a bit, as it shows a couple of interesting details. Right off the bat, the experience of the Bad Blood team is shown with an excellent turn and run to avoid my box rush, then running straight back to hit where I was going to end up. After an exchange, they overcorrect, leading to lifting from the spinner gyro, which allows me to get underneath but not well enough to invert. On the ground, I mistakenly take time to reset my lifter before driving away, meaning an avenue for them to quickly turn and land a shot on the side armor. This appears inconsequential, but it collapsed the armor spreaders like in the semi-finals, millimeters from binding up Derive's drive belts. After gaining some space, both reset to meet in the middle of the arena as Bad Blood is turning, slightly lifting their right side and allowing Derive's forks just enough space to get under. Trying to capitalise, I perform a very cool but ultimately fruitless suplex, as Bad Blood simply bounces back onto its 4 wheels. Resetting, This time it's Bad Blood winning the ground game as the lifter forks right up the wedgelets and it smashes off the tip with its spinner. Meeting one final time, the damaged fork goes between the wedgelets as the smaller forks slip underneath. Derive's jaw passes just short of the spinner, meaning the lifting prongs do all the work to throw its opponent back. By design, Bad Blood bounces off the wall and lands right way up, but on top of its opponent. Throwing the forks forward now, Bad Blood is inverted, having not had enough time to regain momentum in its spinner, and all of that happening in under 20 seconds. Derive did not come out unscathed. The kiss from Bad Blood buckled the aluminium spreader bars in 2 places. Neat to see how the plastic in front of it is unscathed, and a good demonstration of how these 2 materials hold up to impacts. If I was thrown by that hit, my opponent could probably have followed it up and finished me off, so props to the absorbent armor for that. Just after the finals, I was challenged by some builders with their new robot, Jonathan. They'd been smashed up by an egg beater the day before, and managed to fix their machine with new rebar armor. Still having battery left after the short finals, we threw down once the crowd had dissipated.
We've had 2 of these sitting in our fridge in the back for maybe like a year. And we were like, when we finish the arena, we'll drink them. And then we did it. So now it's like, done. Like days. Yeah. That's the one. Oh, the blade's gone. One of the blades is gone. There's 2 blades. Ah. That rebar's holding up, man. It's so... Oh, no. That ride is dead. It looks like it's actually crashed. Oh, there's smoke! Yeah, it's like, why is it still driving?
Overall, this event was a very good time. One doesn't travel to fight the robots necessarily, as it's far cheaper to do that at home, but to meet the other builders and see the venue. With the event over, it's time to figure out what comes next for the robots. Before this event, I was pretty much done with Derive, having lost interest in the dual weapon variant and not being especially impressed with the suplexing machine. Things were turned around by this event though, now that the drive and lifter are working in top form. The next version will be a tankier, purpose-built lifter with a shifting linkage to switch from simply lifting and holding an opponent like Claw Viper and properly suplexing them, as both moves have their place. This is a lower priority behind a new featherweight and some airweights, the former revitalising my flywheel flipper for the next January Sportsman Feather event in Brisbane. Until next time.